Hey, and welcome to the Step Over podcast. Thanks for joining. I see some new faces in the crowd. Lovely to see you. Hope you'll stick around. To start off the show, oh my goodness. I take back what I said in my last episode about playing the game, the Canada-Mexico game in Edmonton. The Ice Teca. Was that a sloppy game? Yeah, it was. But was it exciting as hell? Yes, it was. I hope you found a great, comfortable spot to watch the game. I was at the Capital City supporter group's watch party at the Glebe Central pub, and the atmosphere was just fantastic. Just incredible moments with Laren's 2 goals, and then the madness of those 6-7 minutes of extra time. Just a wild, incredible game to watch. And now we've got Canada sitting top of the 18 table heading into 2022. And team, I think we're going to Qatar. So I'm going to need to take out a loan or something, because that's got to happen. But if you watch that game, you've probably got a taste for live soccer action, and you're absolutely in luck because the USports National Championships are being hosted this week. I think it's November 18th to 21st at Carleton University. Carleton, as the hosts, got a bye into the tournament. They'll start play on Thursday along with 7 other teams. They'll be taking on UBC. And when you're talking about university sports, the best coverage is from the university newspapers. Last episode, we talked with Jasmine McKnight from the University of Ottawa's Fulcrum. She was fantastic. And today we're going to be talking with Jayden Dill, who writes for the Charlatan, which is Carleton's newspaper. I had a really great chat with him talking about Carleton's 2021 season, the highs and lows, and what to expect for the national championships and his predictions. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Here's my chat with Jayden Dill. So we're here with Jayden Dill, a reporter for Carleton's campus newspaper, the Charlatan. So can I call you like a sports writer or a soccer writer, or like what would be like the most accurate way to describe you as a reporter?
Sports journalist is fine.
Okay.
Sports writer, sports journalist. We can go with that.
Okay, right on. And so you're a journalism student as well, right?
Yes, journalism and political science student at Carleton University.
Okay. So like Carleton's obviously like quite well known for its journalism program. Was it like an easy decision to come to Carleton?
Yes, there was a point in time where I was on the fence about it, if I wanted to go so far from home, if I wanted to go to U of T, which is a lot closer to me, but Carleton just had that known advantage of how good of a school it was, and it being so close to political science, to Parliament, that political science seemed like such a great asset. The bonus was actually coming here to cover the Ravens. I didn't actually find out how good they were until I got here. Okay.
So like I always ask, like you report on soccer. So you mentioned before we started recording that you're a big soccer fan. Like, do you play often as well?
I used to play a lot more. I don't play as much now. I had a big injury, and that kind of wrapped up my soccer career. I used to play just above around Rep A on the brink of OPDL, and between there, I was mediocre, but I understood the game a lot much better than I played it.
And like you said that you watch a lot of soccer, like do you have a favorite team or like a few that you root for?
Oh, I'm a big Red Devils fan. Manchester United all the way.
Oh yeah, is there a reason that you got into them?
I don't know. It's just I guess my dad supported them, and ever since I was, I think, 4, I've supported them. Really been a diehard fan since 7. That's when I started going through all the research and learning about their history, history that happened before I was even born, and history that happened after it. And just watching them play was such an inspiration. I learned so much from it, and it was just always exciting. And it's just one of those things that I've supported as a kid, that no matter how much of a struggle they go through, and they've been going through quite of a struggle.
I was about to say,
yeah.
How have you felt about them lately?
Oh, let's save that for a different podcast, because it's been quite bad. That's putting it gently. It's been quite bad for us, and we haven't been hitting anywhere near expectations. You bring in players, you're supposed to be doing better than you are, not worse, especially when you bring in, arguably the world's greatest striker in Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that. And maybe we'll save that for a different podcast. So you've been writing for the Charlatan about the Ravens soccer teams. The men's obviously very highly ranked, very talented roster. Like for those who are maybe haven't been paying attention yet, but are looking to get caught up with the national championships, like how would you summarize how the regular season went?
I would say it went okay. I can't say it went great. I can't say it went fantastic because it didn't quite go fantastic. They got off to an excellent start with a 3-0 opener against Queens, and then they continued their streak of runs. But they hit a little bit of a patch in their form when they went up against RMC, and not RMC, when they went up against Ontario Tech. Now, for those of you who don't know Ontario Tech, but they can be a tricky side to play against. The first time they played Ontario Tech, they killed them. It was like 6-0 for Carleton. And the way the OUA format has been this season is that you play teams consecutively and within 3 days. So you play them Friday nights and you play them Sundays, or that's how it's been for Carleton. So you play Friday nights home or away. And if you play home or away on Friday night, you play the opposite for Sunday. So when Carleton went up against Ontario Tech on Friday, it was clean through, easy, just like everyday work for Carleton, 6-0 win. Sunday, they had OUA made a very tactical adjustment, and which is why they can be a pretty tricky team to play against. They became much more solid defensively by allowing their center back to push into the midfield. And the reason why this created such a problem for Carleton is that they are a possession-based team. They like to have a lot of possession, move the ball around, and when they lose it, they're constantly fighting to get it back. And that's how they tend to kill teams, is they always have the ball, and they have a sick killer instinct for finding weakness in the team's defensive line, and that's how they end up beating teams 7-0, 8-0, 9-0. But what Ontario Tech did seem to kind of open a domino effect that kind of put the Ravens form off balance. That 0-0 draw at home on Sunday, I think, was a little bit of a shaky one for them, and it kind of pointed out a weakness in the Ravens team this season, is that going up against defensive teams, they struggle a little bit, and they struggled against York, another very good defensive team, and they struggled against Guelph during the OUA semifinals, another very good defensive team. So I think failing to win their regular season division and then failing to win the OUA is what kind of makes it a immediate, more of a okay type season. It wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible by any means. They actually played quite well, but it wasn't perfect because they weren't able to get to an OUA final and reclaim their OUA championship status, losing to Guelph 1-0 in the semifinal.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a bit of a not a disappointment, but a bit of a letdown, maybe.
Yeah, it's like everyone I've spoke to hasn't necessarily said it's been a disappointment. I think it may feel like that, but personally, I think as soon as they were out of OUA, they were proper to switch on to nationals, right? The underlying tone, I felt like, has been nationals for them because it's the only trophy that they have yet to win in our school's history. So I would assume that they're not happy about going out to Guelph in the OUA semis, but I assume that they're not going to let that get in the way of nationals. So they're not going to hang over it. They're not going to be dwelling over that defeat. They're going to get up and get ready to go again for nationals, and that's what I can imagine that they've been doing ever since they got off the bus after that 1-0 defeat to Guelph.
Like, would you say that there were any surprises to you during the regular season? Maybe players that stepped up and made a name for themselves that you weren't expecting.
I guess you could say Raf Garcia, the fullback. Raf Garcia has been quite good for them. Kind of a key part for them going forward. He's a right fullback, a defender who often plays like a winger. I know we've seen him, how important he's been in terms of putting pressure on that back line, getting forward, creating chances. And that was evident during the OUA quarterfinal against McMaster, as he seemed to set up a or slash score a goal that opened up the scoring against McMaster that was clinical for Carleton Ravens to get going during that game. So he's someone who stepped up. Mateo Debrienne has been excellent this season. I don't know if you can say it was a surprise. He's a former Whitecap Academy player. So he's been around the block a little bit, but I think just how well he's adjusted into this Ravens squad, only just getting here this summer. Him and Raf Garcia have been excellent additions who will haven't backed down from the plate for sure, and have been quite impressive to a lot of fans and soccer experts to watch.
So you mentioned Mateo Debrienne. I got to ask about that goal. It went viral. And like that feed from Tarek Hamad.
Yeah.
Equally good, really. And Mateo connecting on the volley, no bounce. I'll just ask you one question about it. When you did first see it, what was your reaction?
So oddly enough, I was at that game. I was actually in the York press box covering that game live, and I think when I saw that, the whole media press booth up there just went, oh, just full of celebrations. And usually they say, as reporters, you're not supposed to cheer or chant. Everyone was cheering and chanting when we saw that goal, because it was so good. Instantly for me, I don't know how many of your listeners might know or might remember this, but Wayne Rooney to Robin Van Persie, I think it was 3-0 against Aston Villa in 2013. That is such an amazing goal. It's almost like for like. Wayne Rooney picks up the ball at halfway, launches what must be a 40-yard pass to the world-class left-footed striker, Robin Van Persie. Same thing here, Tarek Hamad dribbles up to halfway, sends a fantastic pass out. I don't know how we picked that pass out, and Mateo Debrienne just catches it perfectly on the volley. That is every soccer player's dream, to see a goal of that magnitude scored during a match, and to see it live. Oh man, that is a dream come true for me.
Just ridiculous, yeah. And I mean, that's huge praise. Kind of having it, remind you of like a Rooney to Van Persie goal. But I mean, from what I heard, like all the fans at York kind of went a little crazy when they saw that. It's like, is that true?
Yeah, the whole, like, I just think in that moment there was no division between teams. There was only appreciation for the quality of that goal as soccer fans from everyone there. And it's actually quite a unique experience to see, where everyone comes together to just celebrate a quality goal. Like even the York fans were like, "Oh, we gotta give that one to you." That is a goal out of this world. And it was it was crazy to see that the York journalists, they were celebrating, the York fans were celebrating. I was like, wow, that is it was just unique experience for sure.
For sure, yeah. So I mean, besides that goal, like Carleton scored a few other bangers this season. Like, do you have a favorite goal from the year, not counting that one?
I would say, I think Gabby Bitar had I can't remember who it was against, but he had one where he just picked up the ball, must have been 30 yards out, and just bended that into the top corner. It was just like, wow, out of nowhere, you just curled that. I was like, oh, just that just shows how much of a threat that he is, and that, him and Mateo Debrienne often don't play together, but the fact that they can, and that they both can, pull out goals from their very big arsenal, it's exciting as a Ravens fan to watch. And I think that's what made me stay around for to report for such a long time this season, and for so much this season, is just seeing the quality of goals that they can score. So I think Gabby Bitar's, I want to say it's against RMC Paladins. It could also be against Ontario Tech. I'm not sure, but that for sure is a goal that I thought was quite good this season.
Okay. So one thing I noticed that is that after goals, there's a lot of guys that can do flips. Has anyone talked about that? Like,
It's
are there like
kind
a lot of gymnasts on the team? Like, there's a lot of backflips going on.
it kind of like I know with Scott Mazzotta and Matteo Debrienne,
Maybe it's just those two that I've seen. I don't know, but like I've seen a lot
they're
of flips.
like they're like they kind of have like builds, similar styles players, but very I think it just shows just how like in shape and how well Carleton's training staff does to keep the whole team in shape. I don't know who else does flips. I've only seen them do flips. I've seen, I guess you could say, Moses Cafiro get close. He did a Ronaldo Sue celebration, so not
Okay.
entirely close, but like it's been impressive from Mazada and Debrienne for sure that that's just something they do. It's like they try to outdo each other with their goals, with their celebrations. They're very similar players for sure. It's quite fun to watch both of them when they play opposite flank of each other. I think as a coach, as a defending coach, it's a nightmare to handle because you might contain Debrienne or you might contain Mazada, but there's a very low chance that you'll contain them both from doing something spectacular, and it's quite fun to watch.
Absolutely, super entertaining. So heading into the national championships, being hosted by Carleton, the Ravens do have a few injuries, which you mentioned in I think your last piece, including one to Gabe Bitar, who you mentioned. Do you have any updates on like how they're doing? Like, can we expect any of them back?
I haven't received any updates yet from the Ravens staff. I know Gabby Bitar has been battling an injury all season, so that's kind of kept him out for most games. I know Dario Conte was battling a little bit of I think it was a concussion earlier on, but he seems to be back and he seems to be playing. I think when they played against Guelph, he was still getting into match sharpness, so he may not have been 100%. I know Raf Garcia is still out. I know Honeymoo Quinn has been out for most of the season. That's why Tarek Hamad has had to move from right back into center back. So there's about 3-4 still lingering injuries from the last time I've checked. I don't know. It's been about a week, so I don't know if they've had an opportunity to work them out. But it's nationals, so injured or not, there was nothing really severe from what I understand. I doubt you're going to keep, Gabby Bitar out from his last year of nationals. I don't think you'll see that, and I don't think you'll see that from Raf Garcia or really any of the players. So I think you will get close to having a full Carleton roster, but you might not see a full 100% Carleton roster.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing that may encourage a lot of players, especially a guy like Gabe Bitar, to make an effort to be in the lineup, is the CPL draft. You got to think that like there's going to be people there watching, to see like who they might pick. Like, have you heard anything about if teams are going to have anyone there, watching the national championships, like for scouting purposes?
I think they've always sent scouts. I've seen what looked like to be one or two scouts sometime this season, where it's looked like they've showed up to come watch, and that's been kind of nice. But of course, they'll probably send scouts. I know you might not see like a head coach come out to watch. Probably won't see that, but I think you'll definitely see scouts. They might not identify themselves as scouts, but you also have to remember it's still being broadcasted, right? So this is definitely something that the CPL will be watching, because essentially these are the best players in the country for at the university level, and it's the way the USports is growing for soccer and the way the CPL is growing. This is the best way in for a lot of players, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of scouts and managers refer to footage played during this game as the best of the best to determine who they want to bring in for next year as a draft pick.
So the teams, there's 8 teams in the championships. There's Carleton, Guelph, UBC, St. Mary's, Laval, Montreal, Victoria, and Cape Breton. Who would you say is like the favorite, or even maybe like 2 or 3 of the favorites going in?
I think favorites hand down is probably Montreal. Um, I've watched most of the teams play. It's a little difficult to watch some of the teams from the Midwest because you have to pay for their footage. But
That's fair.
yeah, no, but I've watched Montreal play, and they're quite difficult team to play against because they have such fast pace, fast build up. They play the long ball, and it's very quick 1-2 touch. And they're always looking to get in behind that back line and score a goal. So that can be a difficult team to go up against. I think they'll probably be favorites to win it this year actually. And obviously I've heard a lot of Carleton players and alumni and CPL players say that this is their year because Carleton is home and because it's the only trophy that they haven't won. But Montreal is no joke, and when they play to win and they play aggressive. And it's probably one of the most aggressive teams that I've seen play. They will go into a tackle and they will actually be okay with a yellow card because they'll know that means that they're being aggressive, and that's just um, uh, the dangers of playing against a tough team. So I think that they'll be the ones where I don't bet, but if I was betting, that's where I would put my money on.
So in the first round, Carleton's meeting up with UBC. Like, how do you like the Ravens' chances of moving on from that game?
Yeah, I haven't seen UBC play too much. Obviously, they're a very well-known team in this competition. Um, I think that they actually won it the most times. I think it's 13 times. But obviously, a lot of those trophies were picked up, during the 80s and 90s. It's not the 80s and 90s anymore, and Carleton are a different breed. So although they might have a little bit of a difficult chance, it's hard to say. But I think they'll get through to the semis. For sure. At least I think it would be very disappointing, and that would call it that. You can then say label it as a disappointing season if they go out first round, no matter who their opponent was. So I think they'll be looking to beat anyone they face against, and I feel like they could have a high percentage against anyone they face against. So I do believe that they'll beat UBC first round and head into the semis.
Okay. So my last question then for the game on Thursday, do you have a score prediction for us? And maybe some goal scorers.
Ooh, are we just talking about the Ravens games or are we going down the list?
No, let's go with Ravens games.
All right. You see, it's difficult because I don't know if you've ever been to Ravens Perch on a night game. I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's something that happens that the Raven crowd does to this Ravens team, and it's almost like it electrifies not just a 12th but a 13th man for them, and it can be very, very dangerous. And I think that's part of the reason why such a good team like McMaster struggled against the Ravens. It's because the fans put them out of it. Queens struggled against the Ravens because the fans knocked them right out of it. So if Carleton get the first goal on Wednesday, I think we could see a 3-0, maybe even 4-0 win from the Ravens.
Wow.
It's a bold prediction, so they better win or else I'm
you're putting yourself out there, and I respect the hell out of that. All right. Before I let you go, do you have any upcoming pieces or personal project that you like to plug?
Yeah, so actually, we got 2 long-term pieces in the works. One of them is actually regarding the development of Ottawa soccer from kids to Carleton University players, and why does Carleton tend to produce so many strong Ottawa-based players? I don't know if you realize, but there was a team that Kwesi Loney fielded this year where 9 of the 11 players that he started were from Ottawa, and no other school around the country really has such a concentrated core like that. And it posed the question, well, these are just players who are playing for Carleton. There are players who are playing in other schools that are starting and are from the Ottawa region. Ottawa is more of a smaller city as compared to Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal. So how do they field such good players? And that piece should be coming out It could be in the next couple of weeks. It could be in 2022. We want to make sure we do a good job with it. But we're also, I just picked up a piece actually today that's going to talk about it's an op-ed about Canada, the national team going to starting to make some movement on the international stage, and what does that mean for the CPL, and what does it mean for USports soccer? Obviously, you would assume when a country enters the national stage that their league would grow, but we all know that the CPL has some underlying issues, players union, really finding investors, raising the price cap. So the question is, how much success does the national team actually have that will positively impact the CPL, and how far does that impact go? So it's a couple of fun stories that we're working on. It's a busy week. It always is with nationals. I'm excited for sure.
Once again, I want to thank Jayden Dill for joining. That was a fantastic chat. And I want to thank you for listening. By tuning in, you're showing your support really, you're just showing how much you care about local soccer, and that means a lot to me. And if you like what you heard, you can like and subscribe. Give this podcast a good rating. If you feel like it, all good. We'll have more episodes down the pipeline. Until then, you take it easy. We'll see you later.